In this video, I'm going to show you how to arrange your daisies. So if you're having daisy dilemma, I'm going to show you how you would put your daisies onto a cake. So first of all, I have here an angled cake, often referred to as a topsy-turvy style. This is actually a style of cake or a shape of cake that I love. You can buy cake tins or pans that make the cake, or of course you can carve it. But when you're doing sometimes floral, it's a nice way to present it rather than just being flat on top of the cake. I have here poly dowel. Poly dowels are food grade plastic dowels ready for doweling cakes, and these work wonderful for flowers. And what you do is you just cut these to the depth of your cake. So I've just cut these to the depth of my cake and I've inserted 3 of these because I'm going to have my spray come in here. First of all, on the bottom of this cake, we've used a mold, the daisy and sunflower mold, to actually make little daisy centers. And this was just done in the modified sugar paste. So meaning you take sugar paste that's left over from covering your cake, 115 grams, which is 4 ounces, and you add to that 1/4 teaspoon of Tylose or CMC and 1/4 teaspoon of vegetable shortening or white fat. And then you leave it about 10 minutes. And what that does, it firms up the paste a little bit. And you can see here that on my cake here, that you actually have this very nice, like sort of basically daisy center, and they look like little buttons, like little textured buttons. But it's a nice way to obviously showcase, finish the cake off, but it means basically the cake and the flowers are all made with this one fabulous mold. So here, I've inserted the flowers. Now, what I want to do is, first of all, I just want to lay out my, basically my spray. So I'm going to use my daisy spray here. I've done a couple of extension leaves on the side because my Gerbera daisy is going to sit in the middle of this arrangement. So what I wanted to do is I'm almost keeping it like graduated, but then this one is coming out. You'll see the reason why. And you just sort of hold it there. You're going to trim it to the depth of the cake, which I've already have done. And then I will take my pliers and I'm going to bend that at a right angle. So my stem will actually be bent at a right angle. And so then this will go into my cake. Now, when you put this into the tube, all right, so when it goes into the tube, this fits in fine. But if it was very wobbling around a lot, what you can actually do there is you can just take your floral tape. And this is a little loose, all right? So what you do there is you just take this back out, and I just will take my floral tape and I just go around a few extra times right at the top here like this, all right? Because we get a lot of requests, like after the first, obviously Flower Pro, the first book, and obviously the videos, quite a few asked about some tutorials on putting flowers together. So that is why when we did the Spring 2019 collection with the peonies and things, we added some videos of how I actually put the flowers onto the cake. So you see how that now doesn't move, all right? So it's nice and stable, okay? And I'm going to balance that with a smaller version. All right, so this smaller version is going to come down here like this, all right? So you just sort of position it where you think it needs to be bent. And then again, you're just going to just take this and position it. Now, using this concept, nothing is sort of set in stone, meaning that if you need to move things, you can do. And obviously, we're going to put your spray here like this, okay? I've done what is called a swallowtail. So that's literally just a piece of ribbon where I wrapped the wire around the top of 26 gauge wire and just taped that. And that is just going to come into, that will come basically just sort of down the side here, because this sort of helps to just balance the arrangement, all right? So that single wire will just come out from here. And then the piece de resistance is the, obviously, Gerbera daisy, and this stunning Gerbera daisy is going to sit in there. So this is going to go into here. Now, when you're using, for example, like a Gerbera daisy, just watch what's happening with your petals and things, okay? Because you don't want to obviously, so here you're going to put your Gerbera daisy in here, and then you can just sort of tweak things, and then you can take your pliers here, just sort of bend things up a little bit like that, and this will give you a beautiful spray with your Gerbera daisy on. And of course, you could add an inscription to this as well. So if you wanted to, let's say it's for a friend called Daisy, that would be a perfect thing. You could put an inscription using some of the Katy Sue fabulous alphabet and inscription molds. You could obviously finish that off with handwriting as well. I typically, a lot of times, like just simple cakes, in meaning that the flowers are really the statement here. They're the wow factor. But obviously using the daisy center is a nice way to showcase this. And this nice mint green was done with a sort of a green with a little bit of yellow into it, so giving that nice sort of slightly minty, limey green color. So very, very pretty color combination that really sort of showcases that Gerbera daisy. And along with here, I've just got the Gerber Daisy. So, you know, for home decor, if you were, of course, doing this in air drying clay, I've just got a modern contemporary vase here. Obviously, I've got Dusty Miller, which is made from the daisy leaf, which I show on that video. And then obviously a nice hot pink Gerber Daisy to match that. So those two, you know, flowers are obviously the daisy, and that's very nice complementary flowers used in those molds. Now here I have a cake. Obviously, this is a sort of a different style cake, all right? Meaning, again, this is a cake that you'd actually cut off a section of the cake. This is actually being covered with sugar paste, and then modified sugar paste. This is actually the Katy Dragon scales, and this just gives a very nice sort of look to the cake. And you have this sort of almost reminding me a little bit when Kerry Griffiths and I were talking about, you know, molds to use for some texture. I said, well, it reminds me a little bit of sunflower seeds. So it obviously is a nice way to sort of showcase this cake. And so this cake, typically if you're doing a cake like this, you're normally going to use ganache on the outside of it, which will make it stable, and then obviously cover it with the sugar paste. This was done in the panel method, so front and back was done separate, and then obviously using the mold, and there of course are tutorials on how to use that. Now I'm going to use on this one 2 smaller sunflowers and 1 larger sunflower, and I've already got one of the small sunflowers on. And this is another alternative method you can use for putting flowers on. That is to use a ball of sugar paste or fondant. This is actually just some of the modified paste from the dragon scales. And what you do there is you would take a little small ball of paste, all right? So what I'm gonna do is gonna have my large sunflower here, and you're just gonna use a little bit of piping gel, or you could use Super Bond. Super Bond is a thick glue, but you can use piping gel as well. Use something that's sort of thick and sticky, all right? I'm just gonna put that, this is gonna go here, all right? And you're just going to, I did the same here, and just gonna just sort of blend this down because you won't see this, and that's just gonna stick it to the cake board. So sometimes when you're doing a small arrangement of flowers, let's say hydrangeas, and you always want to do this in the same color as the cake because it's not going to be as visible. If we took white, for example, it would look, as I said, would notice. Now I have here the sunflower. So I've got here a sunflower, and what I've done there is I've just bent this at an angle, and I put a piece of polydowling on here because if this was a real cake, this would go into your cake, all right? And what I've done there is bent this at an angle. And I'm going to take this, and then this is going to sit into have a hole here on the cake. So now I've pushed the sunflower into the cavity, and then what I'm going to do here is I'm going to add a ribbon loop. So I've picked this grosgrain ribbon. You see that will then sort of tuck into there. So this will actually be the same sort of color as the sugar paste, the rolled fondant. Just obviously just tuck that in. Now we just sort of finish that off there, okay? And then around the other side of here, I'm going to take the other sunflower, and then this one is going to go into the sugar paste there, and you can just sort of push this in with just be careful of your petals, okay? And then the other thing that's really important is when you do a cake, you need to make sure that you stay within the perimeter of the board, because your board is like your perimeter fence, okay? So everything is protected within that board. If you have any little pepper or coffee on there we go. But, you know, in competitions, but it also means everything has to be protected within that, with that area of the board, okay? And that's sort of how you would put the flowers together here. So those are all, you know, created with this one mold. So sort of an incredible mold, the ultimate daisy and sunflower mold, all right? So this is obviously perfect for making all of these flowers with its back veiner. Remember, in the tutorials, I talk about, you know, using this for butterflies, for ginkgo leaves and other things as well. And obviously there are multiple other daisy family that you could make, like also love in the mist buds and different types of daisies, unwired daisies with that. And then of course the beautiful leaf, sunflower and daisy leaf, which we can also use for Dusty Miller, for like the ice plant, for different other. And of course you can also, on the videos, I show how to make the smaller size leaves, which I've used on the smaller sunflower. So this has been Nicholas Lodge with Flower Pro Ultimate Sunflower and Daisy Mold and Sunflower and Daisy Leaf. I hope you've enjoyed these tutorials and watched all of them, and we'll have fun making those. So sweet wishes until next time. See you soon.